So the water soluble fraction I like to take out first when I'm making a dual extract. Well, actually, let's just start with the overview a little more. So there's the water soluble fraction, and then there's the alcohol soluble fraction. And in some cases I guess in all cases. So there's fat soluble, water soluble, and alcohol soluble constituents, and some that dissolve very readily in acids. So we'll kind of take like a broader perspective. In these mushrooms, we're definitely looking to get beta glucans, which are the complex sugars that boost the immune system, and those come right out in the water. You boil them or bring them to a boil and then reduce the heat to a real low simmer and just let it sit like that for 24, 36 hours or so. You'll still be extracting medicine or mycochemistry. And
is that a safer way to do it?
I love crock pots for it because it's pretty low energy. I'm a lazy hippie, you know. I don't know if you guys know that about me, but I'm a lazy ass hippie, so I want to do everything as easily as possible. So I just throw it in the crock pot and then let it sit there on the low setting overnight and then all day, and then now I think it's about cooled off. So we've got all the water soluble stuff right here. The other aspect of this is like triterpenes, different, oh gosh, let's look it up. I've got it pulled up right here on my phone. This brother Arthur Haynes, he's a great dude to look into. He's got lots of YouTube videos, Arthur Haynes. And just really thorough knowledge and really nice approach. I really like the way that he shares information and the way that he approaches his studies.
Do you have a ratio for chaga matter to water for the crock pot?
You know, because of the mass of the chaga, the space that it takes up, I just go for pretty much maximum. I just barely cover the mushroom matter. I will stuff a jar, stuff a jar like this full with the mushroom matter. We'll see how, and I mean,
if you're doing
it's like, some people are all like, well, you need, for every 16 ounces of plant matter, you're going to want 80 ounces of menstruum. That's the liquid that you soak your tinctures in. They call it menstruum in the
That's interesting.
The alcohol becomes
menstruated.
Yeah, it's not menstruated.
Liquid.
So
Either
it's
alcohol
macerating
or water.
Yeah, it's macerated.
Liquid
Yeah, it's not
the
menstruating.
name
It's macerating.
transforms to menstruum.
Exactly.
What could have been water? Could have been.
The menstruum macerates.
It's just another.
It's the nerd term for
menstruate.
this. Your soaking medium.
Exactly.
So when you're taking a shower, you just say like, I'm menstruating.
So yeah, there's some people who really believe really strongly in the whole let me measure it all out, super detailed. Other people are just like, yeah, I just throw some in there and then pour some vodka on it. And just cool. I kind of
Down here.
take a mixed approach. I kind of do it I have a loose idea of I'm kind of going for 4 parts to 1, 1 part chaga, 4 parts alcohol. So if I could fit 16 ounces in a half gallon, that would be great. But in this batch, I think I put 10, 11 ounces in here, and it's just take more. If it's not as strong as you want it, just take a bigger dose. That's how I feel about it. And that's another thing I really like about a lot of the mushroom medicines and adaptogens in general is that they're really safe. A lot of them are like, they call them kind of nutraceutical in that they are safe enough to be taken as a food substance. Like, you could drink nothing but chaga tea every day for the rest of your life and you'd be fine. Probably live to be 150. Don't quote me.
But don't you need breaks?
What's that?
But don't you need breaks for your body for your
Yeah, I've heard people say that. That it's nice to go like 4 weeks on, 1 week off. 4 weeks on, 1 week off. I don't know. I've been taking it every day for probably 18 months now. I'm gonna stick to that regimen. I take breaks every now and then, but it's usually like a day or two. Not like
weeks.
Yeah, and I mean that's my own way of doing it. Maybe like when I leave this body, I'm all done with it. You guys can play Blue's Clues and figure out what the heck happened, where I went wrong. I mean, unless I'm like 95 and I die of contentment in the garden, great. But I have a feeling like overexposure to like crazy toxicity in this. Anyways. So, moving right along, alcohol soluble constituents. So, I like to approach it, extract the water soluble fraction first, because then you heat it up. And by heating it up, you crack the cell walls. Mushrooms have a layer of an indigestible fiber called chitin, spelled CHITIN. It's the same material as the exoskeleton on a bug. So it's like that, like hard, shiny, like imagine that on a microscopic level. That's a really awesome fiber material that they developed so that they could survive space travel, I've heard. Evolutionary adaptation of fungus to survive space travel. There's a lot of theories that life on this planet was actually from a comet from another planet that had life. And I really like that idea. It's like an inoculation sort of thing. It's like if you just put sugar water on the counter, it's probably going to get like funky and moldy and have some weird colors growing on top of it in a week. But if you pour a little bit of kombucha in there, or you pour a little bit of some wine or some living culture vinegar, then it's going to determine how it evolves and how it unfolds. So yeah, this chitin, by cracking the cell walls, we open it up, and that layer of chitin is no longer an issue. Now the contents, so it's like this, it's sealed, there's no way for what's inside of here to pass into the liquid that's all around it. But once you heat it up, the molecules inside there get all excited and they start moving faster and faster, like how Chiba was doing in the living room earlier, and then the next thing you know, he breaks something! And so like the molecules get all excited and then the wall just breaks open at some point. It gives way. The chitin can't contain that level of intense energy. So now it's open and all the stuff that's inside here can just like float right into the liquid and be like, oh man, this is nice.
So you're going to leach out the contents of the cells after breaking the chitin layer.
Uh-huh.
And this is how we're going to make it biologically available for human consumption.
Yeah, that's the idea. That's the general idea of it, is cracking the cell walls makes more of the chemistry in the mushroom bioavailable.
Can you give some pointers as to know whether or not you've done a sufficient job in applying low heat and time?
Not really. I'm not like so much of an expert on it. I mean, I've only been doing this for like probably 3 years. This is probably like less than my 10th time making mushroom medicine, or making chaga medicine in particular.
Is there a temperature you shouldn't go over?
Yeah, I've heard some rumors about that. I like to basically just keep it slow and low, try to keep it like under 180 degrees, that's like, total arbitrary number, but that's just kind of like my intuition about it. And that's another thing, like, trust your intuition. It doesn't really matter unless you like come across some like really hard science that really makes you feel like, yeah, that's the way I want to do it. Then that's another intuition of like, yes, I like this information. I like the way that they arrived at that number, and I'm gonna go with that. But like ultimately, I don't think it really matters. We're just like leather bags full of compost tea, taking ourselves way too seriously. Like, figured it out. I know all the answers.
Compost tea is what we all need.
Yes, indeed. We want to build good. This will help us build some good compost. This is full of like micronutrients. It's got all kinds of like trace minerals and elements. Oh, so yeah, that's right. Arthur Haynes, what's that?
Oh, this what? This mushroom or this what?
Oh, this is the chaga mushroom, Inonotis obliquus.
Oh,
This is the one that we all pass around. Is everybody still holding their
I thought you were
chaga?
saying
Yeah.
the mushroom itself is good for. Never mind.
Oh, okay. Let's see here. So, list of constituents. More than 200 mycochemicals have been identified from chaga, according to Rogers in 2011. This is, just to be clear here, this is from Arthur Haynes' Chaga Review. I think you can find this online for free. It's a free PDF. Thank you so much, Arthur, for putting in such thorough work and just generally being such a right-on brother. We love you. Over 200 mycochemicals. These include carbohydrates, for example, beta-glucans, xylogalactoglucose. So these words get all fancy and stuff, but I really want to just reiterate that these scientists are just like making up fancy Latin words so that they can sound fancy and smart and say, I've got a PhD because I invented the word xylogalactoglucan, galactoglucose, but it's like glucose is basically a sugar, galacto means milky, and xylo, I forget what that means, but I think it has something to do with like the outer layer. So this is a sugar that has a milky outer layer.
It could be the positioning of certain parts of the molecule that make it unique. So it's a taxonomy, and they need to be able to communicate with their colleagues in an organized, specific, precise manner what this particular type of glucose is, so that people know how to study it, research it, do maybe chemical analysis, chemical reactions, and it's not something superfluous. It's something very,
Absolutely.
very, very, very important in the scientific process.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. And that's why I want to encourage everybody to not be intimidated by these big words, because when you break it down, you can see that they're talking about this kind of a sugar that has these characteristics. And so, like, don't let the Latin scare you off. Just like, as you feel called to, just like learn little parts of it. Like, I don't even remember where, I think I learned that galacto means milky when we were learning about galactagogues like 5 years ago, doing some kind of little workshop just like this with Sarasaurus, and we talked about galactagogues, which increase the flow of milk for mothers who are
So in this case,
breastfeeding.
they're making a metaphor on the kind of properties that this liquid is from, and it becomes somewhat viscous, somewhat opaque, somewhat whitish.
Right.
So they're making a metaphor so they can compare it that people are aware of, because it's a common food product, and therefore they've got something that they figure is unique enough to be able to trace and name and track a certain quality. But this would be a macro quality of the fluid that comes out of the cells.
Absolutely. So, xylogalactic glucose is another one of the carbohydrates. There's lipids, for example, B-cytosterol, episterol, phycosterol, polyphenols, 3,4-dihydroxyl acetone. I know. These are the one. I know noblins, A. I know noblins.
I know goblins.
I know noblins.
Yeah.
And that's after inonotus being the genus. So that's probably a novel compound that they've only found in Chaga, or that they first found.
Goblins.
Huh? No, I thought it was goblins at first.